The actor Sam Neill, who's best known for his role in Jurassic Park, has died at the age of 78.
They're moving in herds. That single line, spoken by a wide-eyed paleontologist staring at a valley full of dinosaurs, introduced the world to one of the most beloved actors of the last 50 years. Today, that actor is gone. Sam Neill, the man who made us believe in Jurassic Park, passed away this morning in Sydney, Australia, surrounded by the people who loved him most. His family says the loss was sudden and unexpected. And in a detail that's now spreading across every entertainment outlet on the planet, they made a point of clarifying one thing. His death was not related to the cancer he had spent years fighting. That distinction matters, because just months ago, Sam Neill told the world something remarkable. He'd beaten it, the fight nobody saw coming. For years, Sam Neill quietly battled a rare treatment-resistant form of blood cancer, a diagnosis that would have ended most people's careers, let alone their will to keep working. But in April of this year, Neill shared the news that he had achieved full remission after taking part in an experimental clinical trial in Australia, a treatment so cutting-edge that its cost has been estimated at up to $750,000. In interviews around that time, Neill spoke with a kind of clarity that only comes from staring down mortality. He admitted he genuinely didn't know how long he had left to live. But he said something that's now being replayed across social media as a final piece of wisdom from a man who lived exactly how he wanted to. He said he wasn't frightened of dying. What bothered him, he said, was the thought of leaving before he'd finished everything he still wanted to do. Now, just weeks after celebrating a health milestone that felt like a second chance at life, his family is left explaining that whatever took him, it wasn't the disease he'd already conquered. From New Zealand farm boy to global icon, to understand why this loss is hitting so hard, you have to understand who Sam Neill actually was before Hollywood ever knew his name. Born in Northern Ireland, Neill's family relocated to New Zealand when he was just a child, and it was there, far from any film industry, that he grew up on the kind of rural land he'd return to for the rest of his life. He didn't burst onto the scene as a teen prodigy. His path into acting was slow, almost accidental by his own admission. He broke into international consciousness playing a supporting role in acclaimed Australian drama in the late 70s, part of a wave of New Zealand and Australian talent that would go on to reshape global cinema, alongside names that would later become just as recognizable. Over the next decade, Neill built a reputation as a serious, versatile actor. He appeared in tense psychological thrillers set at sea, prestige literary dramas, and searing true crime adaptations that dealt with tragedy in the Australian outback. He worked opposite some of the biggest names of the era, more than once sharing the screen with a legendary American actress in projects exploring grief and betrayal. He was building the kind of resume critics respected, but nothing could have prepared him for what was coming in 1993, the role that changed everything. When Steven Spielberg cast Sam Neill as paleontologist Dr. Alan Grant in Jurassic Park, nobody could have predicted the film would become one of the most culturally significant blockbusters in history. Neill brought a warmth and dry wit to a scientist thrown into an impossible, terrifying situation, and audiences fell in love with him instantly. Behind the scenes, stories from the set in Hawaii paint a picture of a tight-knit cast, having the time of their lives between takes, joking around with Laura Dern and Jeff Goldblum, forming friendships that would last more than 3 decades. Neill would go on to reprise the role across multiple sequels, becoming forever linked to a character that introduced millions of kids to dinosaurs, science, and the movies all at once. But here's what a lot of casual fans don't know. Jurassic Park was just one entry in an absolutely massive career. Sam Neill appeared in roughly 150 productions across 5 decades. He took on a Cold War submarine thriller, a haunting period drama that earned major awards recognition, and more recently found a whole new generation of fans playing a chilling crime boss in a hit British gangster series. He was still working right up until his passing, refusing to slow down even as his health became a daily battle. The tributes pour in. Within hours of the news breaking, tributes started flooding in from across the industry, and they weren't the usual polite, distant condolences. These were personal. Laura Dern, his longtime co-star and friend, called him her dream leading man, someone she considered part of her chosen family for over 30 years. Jeff Goldblum posted a heartfelt message calling it the beginning of the next great adventure, signing off with love and a small dinosaur emoji. a quiet nod to the role that bonded them forever. Steven Spielberg, the director who gave Neill his most iconic role, said he treasured every moment making the Jurassic films with him and insisted he would never be forgotten. Even actors who worked with Neill as children weighed in. One of his former young co-stars, now in his 40s, shared a warm memory about how Neill pretended to find working with kids annoying on set, when in reality he was an endlessly generous scene partner who made the whole cast better. New Zealand's own leaders joined the chorus of grief, honoring him as one of the greatest talents the country ever produced. Someone who helped put New Zealand cinema on the map before an industry even really existed there. The man behind the fame. What made Sam Neill so beloved wasn't just his talent, it was how little he let fame change him. He spent most of his life away from Hollywood entirely, living on a sprawling farm back in New Zealand, tending to animals he affectionately named after celebrities and friends. He was known as humble, self-deprecating, almost bewildered by his own success. He once joked that it seemed like extraordinary good luck that he'd managed to become an actor at all, let alone stick around in the business for decades. He is survived by his 4 children and 8 grandchildren, a family he was famously devoted to despite a career that took him around the world. A legacy that outlives the headlines. Over the course of his career, Neill picked up honors that reflected just how respected he was among his peers. He was made an Officer of the Order of the British Empire in the early 90s, and decades later, New Zealand bestowed a knighthood on him, cementing his status as one of the country's most decorated cultural figures. Just last year, at a New Zealand Screen Awards ceremony, he was handed a Lifetime Achievement honor and accepted it the way he accepted most things in life, with a joke, saying that if you stick around long enough in this business, you basically just qualify by default. That self-deprecating humor became something of a signature. Even while undergoing grueling cancer treatment, Neill kept a public journal chronicling his experience with striking honesty and humor, refusing to hide from his illness or perform bravery he didn't feel. Fans say that openness is part of why his death feels so personal to so many people who never met him. He didn't just play beloved characters, he modeled how to face fear, sickness, and mortality with grace. Sam Neill's death is dominating headlines today, but reducing his life to a single cause of death debate misses the point entirely. This was a man who faced a brutal cancer diagnosis with humor and honesty, who won that fight only to be taken by something else entirely, and who spent his final months exactly the way he lived his whole life, grateful, working, and surrounded by people who loved him. He once said he didn't fear death, only the thought of unfinished business. Looking at everything he built, 5 decades of work, a family that adored him, colleagues who considered him a brother, it's hard to imagine there was much left undone. Rest in peace, Sam Neill. The Dinosaurs, and the rest of us were lucky to have you.